As we get closer and closer to the NBA trade deadline, we're going to be hearing more and more rumors surrounding a team like the Toronto Raptors. Obviously, they have not had the season that many have expected, and obviously having two guys in Fred VanVleet and Gary Trent Jr. heading into free agency where they can opt out of their deal. We're going to be hearing more rumors surrounding those two players in particular. And we got some news regarding Gary Trent Jr. this morning, and NBA Central was reporting that Gary Trent Jr. is expected to opt out of his current deal with the Toronto Raptors. So for today's video, I'm going to be discussing whether or not the Raptors should look to trade Gary Trent Jr., whether or not they should look to re-sign him. I'm also going to talk about certain types of players they should expect in return if the Raptors do look to move Gary Trent Jr. So if you're ready to watch this video, guys, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to hit the subscribe button as well, that would be very much appreciated. So with that being said, let's get into today's video. Now, as you guys know, I do like to give out shout outs on my channel, and the shout out for today's video goes out to Sher Khan. So Sher Khan, thank you so much for supporting this channel through your likes and comments. It is very much appreciated. Now let's break down that article that was reporting that Gary Trent Jr. is likely to opt out of this deal. Now, this article went on to state that according to numerous NBA executives who spoke with Hoops Hype at G League Showcase, the top Raptors trade candidate is anonymously Gary Trent Jr. Hoops Hype Michael Scotto reported the current belief from those executives is Trent Jr. will opt out of his $18.8 million player option and enter unrestricted free agency this summer. Two executives told Hoops Hype they believe Trent could earn $20 million or more if he entered unrestricted free agency. There's skepticism amongst several front offices across the league that Toronto would be willing to retain Trent Jr. if he eclipses the $20 million annual range. Now, first things first, guys, is the Raptors and Gary Trent Jr. The reason I believe that Masai Ujiri had signed him to such a short deal was because it was obvious that the Raptors did not view Gary Trent Jr. in their long-term plans. That is why they signed a 2-1 deal. Or else, why would Masai Ujiri not sign a young player like Gary Trent Jr., who had the season he had coming into his last contract, sign him to a longer, lucrative 3-4 year contract? It was obvious. I think it was a mutual agreement between both parties that Trent Jr. wanted a bigger payday sooner rather than later, and Masai Ujiri perhaps viewed Gary Trent Jr. as a player that he probably didn't want to invest in long-term with. Now, I find this quite interesting because the Raptors did move Norman Powell a few seasons ago where they did not want to pay him $20 million, and now here is Gary Trent Jr. And yes, he is much younger than Norman Powell, and he has a lot more potential, but they're very unlikely to pay him $20 million because you have a lot of guys that are going to get paid. Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam's extensions coming up. Next summer, it's going to be OG Anunoby, and eventually you're going to have guys like Scotty Barnes, Precious Achiuwa that are going to obviously acquire a much bigger payday than what they're currently getting paid as well. Now, I see the Raptors do not view Gary Trent Jr. in the long-term plans because as many people would want to believe that he's got an amazing potential, and he does, the realistic view of Gary Trent Jr., and you have to be honest with yourselves, is if he's not scoring, if he's not hitting his shots, what else is he giving you on both sides of the floor? He's not a really good defensive player, if we're being honest. And guys, please do not go off of steals and say he's a good defender. He really is not a good defender. He has a lot of trouble keeping defenders. He has a lot of trouble keeping any player in front of him. And I mean, given his height limitations and obviously the Raptors trying to go into the 6'8", 6'9" vision, I just don't know how he fits. He's obviously a streaky shooter. So yes, he may have those games where he scored 30+ points last season or 5+ games. But I don't know, guys. I just don't view him as a long-term plan. And I think the Raptors view it the same way, which is I personally believe the Raptors need to look into trading him. Not only for that reason, I think they could use him as trade bait. He's got the age. He's got everything going for him. He's a young player who can, obviously has the potential, or at least you can tell other teams that he has that potential. And you can look to acquire a center. Now, obviously, it's easier said than done in terms of when we talk about trades and just flipping players for that type of position or this type of position. But I think the Raptors should absolutely look to trade Gary Trent Jr. because it's obvious that if the Raptors don't even want to pay him $20 million, guys, there's going to be teams out there that, like the Lakers, that are going to throw stupid money at him. $23-25 million is easily what Gary Trent Jr. is going to get. And again, like I said, no disrespect to Gary Trent Jr., but outside of shooting, he's not giving you passing. He's not giving you rebounding. He's not giving you amazing defense. So what does he give you? Which is why it is, personally, I believe the reason that Gary Trent Jr. should not be getting paid that money and why the Raptors should look to treat him now rather than later and let him walk in free agency and lose him for nothing. Again, this is a team, an organization. The Raptors have a really hard time. Say whatever you want, guys. Say whatever you want. Yes, Toronto is a beautiful city, but they obviously have a very difficult time attracting free agents. So their way they've constructed their roster is building through the draft, acquiring players to trade as well. So again, I know people like to shit on Toronto as a city, as an organization, that they don't attract a lot of free agents. A lot of teams don't, and that's okay. That's how the Raptors have built their organization. That's how they've built their roster, is through internal. You look at Masai Ujiri. He was with the Raptors. He was Brian Colangelo's assistant before he moved to Denver and before he ultimately decided to come back to the Raptors. So again, the Raptors build internally. They build through trades, and I think the best way to do that is trading Gary Trent Jr. But it'll be very interesting to see what happens. Now, I know people are going to be quick to suggest that why trade Gary Trent Jr.? Why not trade someone like a Fred VanVleet, guys? As much as there's a stigma around Fred VanVleet's defense, he's actually a really good defensive player. Believe it or not. Yes, he gets blown by. Yes, he has his limitations in terms of his height. He's not going to be blocking shots, but he's actually a very smart defender. He's a high IQ defender. But that is why, and personally, again, when you look at Masai Ujiri, I've highlighted this to several videos. When you look at Masai Ujiri in the press conferences he has had, what are the 3-4 names he has consistently mentioned in terms of the Raptors' core pieces? Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, Fred VanVleet. So yes, look, Fred VanVleet is having a tough season. I agree. But in terms of where the Raptors view him, I think it's part of the core. And if they do decide to move on from Fred VanVleet as well, that's a decision that Masai Ujiri will make. And I'm sure he'll acquire a good piece as well. But again, in terms of Gary Trent Jr., Fred VanVleet, guys, you got to be honest. Gary Trent Jr. does not fit the Raptors at all. Everything about him screams Hollywood and not Toronto. So again, he's going to look for a big payday. He's probably going to go to the LA Lakers or a team like that. So again, we'll see what happens. It's very interesting that we get this news, but I do want to hear from you guys. What do you make of all these rumors? Would you be willing to move Gary Trent Jr.? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And as always, I do have a trivia question for you today. So the trivia question for today is actually going to be more opinion-based rather than an actual trivia question. I'm very intrigued to hear what you guys think, and I'll pick one comment that makes the most sense, and I'll highlight it in my next video. But the trivia question is, if the Raptors do trade Gary Trent Jr., what would you like in return? A, would you like a center? B, picks and prospects? C, backup players to play the point guard, shooting guard position? D, a shot creator? Or E, a star player? So again, this is just opinion based. I'm very intrigued to hear what you guys would want in a return for Gary Trent Jr. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. And that will be it for today's video, guys. So thank you so much for watching this video. Let's go Raptors. Let's beat the New York Knicks today and snap that win streak. And we'll see what happens, guys. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be a fun season. It's going to be a lot more rumors coming out. So if you want to keep up with all of that, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Stay tuned here. And again, if you're still watching, guys, make sure to hit the like button as well. So that will be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching this video. And I hope you guys have yourselves a great day.